I'm Betty Banjack, and this is Look Who's Cooking. And today, my very special guest is Mary Catherine McGarvey. And Mary Catherine and I are at the library together at the Montgomery County Norristown Public Library. And Mary Catherine has this reputation of not cooking.
Well, I cook because you can't get through life without eating. But I don't start from scratch because...
You have 3 children.
I have 3
So
children.
Who cooks most of the food?
My husband cooks when he's in town.
When he's in town?
When he's in town. He's out of town a lot.
You can tell them his name.
His name's Ed McGarvey, and he works for Siemens Corporation. He's out of town a lot. So I have 3 kids, and one used to play football, so I would have to cook something edible. And that's why I
This is
use
cooking
cans.
from cans. That's upside down.
Oh.
Put that right side up.
So what I've learned
cans
how
we
to
have
do
here?
over the years is mix together cans and various different ingredients so that it's tasty and edible and that everybody will eat, and it really will be good. My mother used to have a recipe that was like 2 pages long, and what she would do is start from scratch and, dice the onion, and I tried it one day and it didn't work out too well. So what we eventually did was we tried cans, or I tried cans, and my family couldn't tell the difference between what my mother started from scratch and what I made with cans.
Now, you're a vegetarian, or almost a vegetarian,
Yes,
you said.
I am.
So you wouldn't be putting the meat in if you were cooking this for yourself?
If I was going to cook this for myself, I would not use the meat. I would use a vegetable bouillon cube to give it flavor. But because I'm making it for everyone else, my family likes meat, I'm going to be putting some meat into it. So what I have to do first is...
Should I start this up,
please? I have to saute the meat. If I can get it out of the package.
Here, you want a knife?
I think I'm getting it.
We can tell you don't do this too often?
No, I don't do this too often. Not if I can help it. Okay. And then you just sort of...
Oh, you just plop it in there? You
I
don't
just
even
plop
break it up?
No, you break it up with the spoon.
This is sort of our salute to cooking from cans.
Because a lot of people are very busy, and I work full-time. I have 3 kids, and I'm in graduate school, so I don't have a whole lot of time to do this kind of stuff. Now, when you're using beef or any kind of meat, you have to cook it thoroughly, because if you don't, then you can pick up some very nasty little bugs.
With this kind of meat, I think it's better. You can overcook it. It's not like...
well, I'm
especially
only
ground
putting
meat.
it in, I only put a ½ pound in for flavor, because I'm making half a batch. Normally I make 4 cans altogether. What I use is 1 can of large kidney beans and 1 can of the Mexican flavored kidney beans. But if my grandfather saw this, he'd probably be rolling over in his grave.
Oh, yeah. Tell us about your grandfather. You had some neat stories about him.
My grandfather, around the turn of the century, went to Paris. Well, he was born in Europe, and he went to Cordon Bleu in Paris. And he was a master pastry chef at the Congress Hotel in Chicago. That's still the hotel where anybody that is a statesman, like if it's the president or from, like the Queen has stayed there, Queen Elizabeth and various other people. And so it's always had a great reputation for its
And you had pictures, you said, but you forgot to bring them.
I have pictures. He used to make things like the bride and groom out of sugar. And he would, in one picture that I have, he had a really beautiful basket of fruit that was about this tall. And the fruit was all sugar, and so was the basket. Everything was edible. He also did roses. And every year when the new cars would come out in Detroit, they would have a pastry chef's concert or contest to build the cars out of sugar. And he won so many times, they just gave him honorable mention. So didn't get that part of the genes.
I say you're not into baking and all that stuff like he was.
No, if I need something, I just go to the bakery and buy cake.
Listen, do you ever see there's a a chocolate chef. I don't know. I think he's a chocolatier. I'm not sure. That Jacques Torres, he's on TV.
Yes, I've seen him a few times, yeah.
It's amazing. This man paints with chocolate like he would use oils. I don't know what he puts it on. It's some kind of board or something. But he just does beautiful work in chocolate. You never knew that it was.
See, I'd be eating all of the chocolate, and I wouldn't have to worry about it.
You wouldn't
This
have
is
a
really
finished
lean,
picture, right?
so I don't think I need to drain it.
Yeah, it's pretty.
Yeah,
that
that's
was
92% lean, because I don't
Three.
believe in 93% lean.
93% lean.
Because I definitely do not
And it
believe.
tells you here to cook it to 160 Fahrenheit degrees.
Do you know how to tell? It's all brown, so that's how I tell. And now we open the first can.
You gotta have muscles.
Yeah,
So this can is kidney beans.
this is kidney beans, just plain kidney beans.
Why don't you just stick it here?
And
I'm gonna
it's,
send this down a little.
yeah, a little bit. And what I do here is I pour the juice and everything in with the kidney beans.
Now this, as we can tell, you can make this recipe as you would like, but if you would like this recipe, Mary Catherine will write it down and we'll send it to you, just in case.
Yeah, just in case.
Just in case you
can't
don't
remember the cans. So that's the first can of beans, and I let that simmer for a little while.
Half a pound of meat and a 40-ounce can of beans, which is like 2.5 pounds.
Right, if you can. Normally I get the smaller cans because they don't usually carry the large ones. So then what I get is the Mexican flavored beans and sauce, and that gives it its taste rather than mixing all the cumin in and the whatever else, the onions, the garlic.
The kidney beans have coriander in it, like, too.
Right. So, and you can also change the spiciness of it depending on what
That's my
brands
question.
you use.
Can you make this hot? Do you make this hot? Ooh, we're moving the table.
I can make it really hot and I can make it really mild. It depends on who's going to be eating it. Like today I decided to use medium salsa because that's hot, but it's not super hot.
We've had some guests on here who has made some hot stuff, and I'm sort of not good with hot stuff, so maybe this will be better.
The medium is fine, and then you can eat the chips along with it, which we have. And then what I do to cut the acidity, if I can get it open, this is sugar. So I just sort of sprinkle a little bit of sugar.
About a teaspoon?
It's about a teaspoon of sugar in and mix it in well. And that cuts the acidity of the tomatoes, and that way you won't get heartburn.
Yeah, there are some really wicked tomatoes out there, canned and
Yeah.
all. Whether it's done at home or whether you're doing it, you buy it, there's just some tomatoes are just give you heartburn and some don't. You have to find the one that you like and want to use.
Yeah, and sometimes I throw green pepper in too.
Oh, that would be
and
nice.
I cut that up so that it's,
And this thing, here's some,
Yeah,
can't
some more?
waste.
okay.
Sound like
And
my
then
mother.
the secret to the fact that it's easy chili is that all of my jalapeno peppers and onions, salt, vinegar, garlic, spices come out of the salsa. It doesn't really matter what kind of brand salsa you use.
That's nice.
But I throw the salsa in, and this is mild. And that's medium. When my kids were little, I used to use mild salsa because I really didn't like the hot stuff at that point. Now I use the hot salsa when I'm making it for my kids because they really like the hot salsa.
Well, they're growing up and they have
Yeah.
grown-up tastes tend to like hot foods. Either you like hot food or you don't. I don't think
Right.
it's...
Now, my father didn't like beans, so when my mother would make it, she'd put everything together and then throw macaroni into his pot. She would take some out for him
Well, that's a good
and
idea.
put macaroni in it. You can also add macaroni to it, and
Would you
a lot
add
of
it
other
in
things.
dry? The macaroni?
No,
or
she would cook it, cook it, not completely, so it was really al dente. The kind where you taste it and it sticks to your teeth when... So So now let's see how high this is.
Do you want it up or
medium?
down?
I want it up a little bit so it just starts to bubble.
While it's cooking a little bit, you want to tell
Yeah.
us what electronics
Resource
librarian is?
Recently, our library, Montgomery County Norristown Public Library, got a Bill and Melinda Gates grant for a computer lab. It's an enclosed room that's soundproof, so we can use either headphones or speakers. And it's open to the public the entire time that our library is open. And I'm going to be teaching classes depending on what public interest is. I know we have a lot of interest from some of our senior citizens that have never used a mouse, and we no longer have our card catalog. So they'd like to learn how to use a mouse so that they can look up books on our electronic catalog.
I'm signing up.
Yes, Betty's one of my first customers.
I have a new computer at home, and it's wonderful, and I love it. And the only function I use on it is word processing, because that's what I use for my column and stuff like that. And I know that little computer does more than that. And plus, I am taking some classes at the computer lab at All Saints Church, which is an ongoing, different kinds, different nights, different functions. So I'm going to learn to use it and get my money's worth. It's what I like best about my computer is the copier.
Yeah.
The copier is a colored copier, and I mean, it does beautiful things. So I could get carried away with that.
It's really amazing what you can do on, you know.
Right, you're reducing down the liquid.
I'm reducing down the liquid at this point, yeah. So while that's cooking, what I usually do is I make sort of a sangria that doesn't have any alcohol in it. So it's a virgin sangria. I cheat. So if you have a pitcher.
I don't know, do we? Yes, we do.
Yes, we do have a pitcher.
Why don't we get rid of all
I
these?
really cheat. I use Minute Maid fruit punch instead of fruit, or it's real fruit. But I don't use, cutting vegetables or fruit or any of that stuff is not one of my talents.
You can pour.
I can pour.
I can hear you pouring.
I'm pouring. And then what I add to it to give it
These
sort of...
spouts are great. The ones where you can just close up and use again.
Yeah, you can actually carry this.
Remember the ones where you had to take the side and you popped it up and then it would leak, but this one, it doesn't leak.
Now this is a little bit puffy. But this is ginger ale. You can either use ginger ale or you can use tonic water. I like the ginger ale because it makes it a little bit more tangy.
Can I mix that?
Go right ahead.
Oh, aren't I good?
Normally, I would float like if I had an orange slices or lemon slices with the sangria, and then you'd load it up with ice cubes, and it makes it nice and cold. Or you can crush the ice, and that way...
Like a slush.
Like a slush, yes.
This is sort of, this is the time of the year, Cinco de Mayo.
Cinco de Mayo, yes.
Yeah, and I think of that as a holiday for the warm weather, all of the weather, you know.
My husband made tacos yesterday.
Does he make tacos?
In the honor of Cinco de Mayo, and I just had nachos because tacos are meat, basically.
So. You know, I guess whatever you want it to be, being a vegetarian or something, but to missing out on so many good dishes that have meat.
Well, there's substitutes to make it. Sometimes I will eat like the stock. I really don't eat chicken stock very often. And, I do eat...
Like you said, if your husband makes a stew, and you don't eat the meat, but you eat the vegetables and the gravy with the bread.
So I am getting some of the meat stock in...
Okay, why don't I pour this very festive here.
And while this is simmering...
And if you really want, you can add your favorite little, to make it a nice little mild drink, wine. I like to dilute wine. A lot of people think that's cheating when you make a punch. They want something, but I think wine comes off really...
Well, I've also had this with champagne, too, like at bridal showers.
The color is beautiful, and this is just fruit punch and ginger. I want to tell you about ginger ale and apple juice. I did this for a reception we had at the library.
That's right, yes.
And we weren't permitted to have any alcoholic beverages at the library, but we wanted something for the George Washington exhibit. So I came up with this fake beer that was made from apple juice, ginger ale, and lemon slices.
Yeah, that
And
was
it
good.
was received well enough that people asked for the recipe, and it was sort of like, and someone said, will you write it down for me? I said, no, then, just listen. Apple juice, ginger ale. I prefer ginger ale to other things.
Yeah.
And if you're worried about, you're on a diet, a special diet, whether it's for weight or, other kinds of diet, you can use the diet ginger ale.
Yeah.
That's just as good, and especially with the fruit juice. So, and then you put a little lemon, of course, that makes it very colorful.
Also, this chili is very, very low in fat, so if you have to be on a low-fat diet for heart problems, you
Why
can
don't I
leave the
just set
meat
this
out
here
of
till
it,
later?
use the bouillon cube, and don't salt anything. And you get the flavor of, 'cause
How
the
long is-
vegetable bouillon cubes, it's just about done now.
Yeah, but how long did you'd say that this was cooking down, that you reduced it?
I reduce it until it's thoroughly, once it's bubbling.
It's a little loose yet, don't you?
Yeah, the longer it cooks, the better it is.
What I want to get
I
for,
just don't want to burn it.
are you burning it?
No, I'm not burning it.
Oh. What I have here is, I was going to get some nice crusty bread today, but two reasons I didn't. One was there was a major traffic jam. And secondly, I thought, well, since everything is sort of like from a bag or whatever, I would buy tortilla chips or corn chips.
Yeah, nacho chips.
Ooh.
Sometimes what I do with those is I throw them onto a tray and sprinkle some grated Monterey Jack and cheddar cheese.
And you melt it?
And I melt them, and then we have the salsa and the sour cream. I don't like to get guacamole because if you don't eat it all, it turns brown and you can't save it. So.
I pick chip bags and all more carefully than I do fruit and vegetables. I want to make sure they're not crushed to death before I get them out of the store, because they're going to crush and travel home and wherever you. So these are really nice.
It smells pretty good though, doesn't it?
Hmm?
It smells pretty good.
Yeah, it does.
You'd never know it's all cans.
No,
finish
we wouldn't
eating
know
it,
it's all
no.
cans. I'm going to taste it
Go right ahead.
after it gets cooler. I'm known to burn myself too many times in this show.
Whenever things are cooking like this, I always think of double bubble toil and trouble when
It has a nice
cooking in
flavor.
my cauldron.
Now, I can handle that. I can handle hot food. We talked about that. Everyone knows
Right,
that. I
that's
talk about it all
why,
the time.
that's why I did the medium.
But that was a nice,
Mhm.
I could handle that.
But if you're making it yourself, you can make it hotter with the hot salsa. Or you can add it.
I got a corn chip in my throat.
Don't choke on me.
Don't choke on TV.
Yes.
You could serve that with
I serve it with
cheese, onions, anything
cheese.
you
I
want,
don't put
scallions.
onions in it because I'm thinking of children when I'm making it. So most kids don't want.
Well, you could, if you put raw onions on at the end,
Yeah.
the kids won't have to put
But
that
I also
on.
use Ritz crackers or saltine crackers, and that soaks up a lot of the hotness when they don't really
Well,
like.
if you had small kids, you'd use the milder.
Yes, but still, sometimes when they were
salsa.
small, they still wanted it as mild as possible.
Yeah.
They liked the chili and the beans and the meat, but they didn't really want the hotness.
Well, what I think you could have done, put everything together, put the chili sauce, take out what you're going to use.
Yeah, you
if
can do that. Yeah.
And then put it in.
But
It's
sometimes
really-
I think what makes it you have to have the Mexican beans though.
The Mexican beans.
The Mexican can with the sauce, and that gives
Because
the
that
cumin
has
in.
a lot of the flavor in it.
Right, that's the cumin in that comes in. When I tried making it the one time myself, it had so much cumin in because, I mean, you'd taste it and you'd add a little bit, and you'd taste it and add a little bit. And I have to keep stirring because I've been known to burn the bottom of things if I forget to come back and
I
stir.
think that's normal. Many
Okay.
people have burnt frying pans or.
I've also been known to make baked potatoes that don't bake, and my
How do
husband
you
can.
do that?
I don't know, I put them in the oven at what I'm told to put them in the oven at, and they cook forever and they still don't bake. And the next one in the bag, my husband can put in and it comes out light and fluffy, and it's, you know.
Oh, I guess it's on. My aunt did that with the turkey once. She put the she put the turkey in the oven, and she was very busy, so she wasn't paying attention. So 2 hours later, she went back, and I don't know what had happened. I think something happened to the stove, but there she was, 2 hours into dinner making, and the turkey hadn't even budged an inch. But I want to mention about burning something in the bottom of the pot. If you burn stuff on the bottom of the pot, take out what you can, scrape out what you have to throw away.
Yeah.
You don't want anything. And if you just put water in the pan and reheat the water, in many cases,
It'll take it off?
It'll take it up and take it
Well,
off.
I have no trouble cleaning any of the stuff that
just have
I
trouble
almost
cooking
ruin.
it.
I just have trouble cooking it. And the last chicken that I made for the family, I had just gotten a new microwave, and it came with a rotisserie where it winds around in a circle, and it also came with all the browning pans. And I thought, this recipe looks really easy. So I got the chicken and I cleaned it, and I wore rubber gloves because I don't really like the feel of meat. And I put all the seasoning on it and put it on the browning tray and put it in the microwave, and it wrapped around, and it looked absolutely beautiful. It was golden brown, the skin was crisp. They sat down, and since I wasn't eating it, I just sat down and continued to eat my vegetables and the rest of the meal. And the next thing I know, they're trying to saw through it, and it was just as crisp and golden brown right down to the bones. So it was kind of like it was a ceramic chicken.
It hardened up on you.
It hardened up on me, so they just looked at me and said, "Don't cook anymore, Mom."
All her kids knew how to cook, out of self-preservation,
Yeah.
she claims. So, but you cook. Sometimes.
Well, I cook like this. I mean, it's, like most people talk about cooking as starting from the beginning of the ingredients. My feelings on it is that really I don't have time to cook. We'd be eating at 10 o'clock at night if you started from scratch, because when my husband cooks, he'll cook on a weekend, and he'll spend the entire afternoon watching football or golf or whatever sport of the season, and he cooks all day. So he makes a lot of it, and we put it into containers, and then I reheat it when he's out of town.
Actually,
freezing is wonderful. Microwaves are wonderful too.
Mary Catherine, being on this show, has created quite a stir at the library.
Because nobody will eat my cooking.
And they're all waiting for when it airs on, Channel 3, the Access channel. And I think we'll have a big audience that week, just from the library.
And so my son's at Eisenhower, and he's like, "Don't tell anybody, please.
Oh, I know.
Don't tell anybody." So.
We've had guests, that come in, their kids see them, and then, like, the kids, "I don't know you, that kind of thing. So, well, I didn't, what
I think this is just about done. It's nice and thick.
Can we do this? I brought these nice little bowls.
Sure. I just need a different spoon.
I didn't have a big bowl, to be honest. Here.
Okay. I don't want to put that on there.
Oh, put it on there. It washes out.
Oh, okay. Let me turn it down a little bit.
You manage that
So,
right
are you
now.
brave enough to try it?
Hmm?
You're brave enough to try it?
I'll try it. Oh,
Okay.
yeah. Now that I know it's not real hot, I'm brave enough.
Yeah.
Why don't you try some, and we'll get some
Sure.
little drink here.
Chili for breakfast.
Oh, yeah, isn't it?
Cheers.
Cheers. Let's try that. That's nice and refreshing.
Mm-hmm. Very
Oh.
refreshing.
It makes a big difference. I mean, the juice itself is good.
Yeah.
But it's heavy and it's just
Well,
a nice lightness.
I really started doing this because with 3 kids, every time I would buy a bottle of Minute Maid juice, it was gone.
Mhm.
So I cut the amount.
It's always so sweet. So you can cut it with water even, but it's...
Well, I cut the amount constantly because the whole neighborhood will drink you and eat you out of house and home.
Yeah, I've seen people congregate at your house, but I was found out it wasn't for your cooking too much.
No.
They always nervous if she's going to cook or if there's someone else was cooking, so...
So how do you like it?
This is nice.
Isn't it? You'd never know that it was just cans.
And I see some green pepper in there. Remember you said you would have put pepper?
Well, I would add more green pepper to it, but the salsa, if you get the chunky salsa, a few years ago, salsa was pretty much sauce. It was not chunky. And then I had to add some green pepper and things. But since salsa is nice and chunky now, you just use the chunky salsa and it goes right in and it's very good.
I make a lot of fruit salsas.
Mm-hmm.
You know, with the mango
Yeah.
and the peaches and the nectarines and all that good stuff. That part. Oh, here, would you like a taco? Or whatever they are, corn chip.
Thank you very much.
We'll have one of those. And this is really good. I'm sorry people out there are not here because we would share it with you. The crew's going to like this. This is pretty good. Jay, Mary Catherine.
It's nice and hot.
You can cook for me anytime.
Okay.
You could even make this without meat for me. I'm not a vegetarian, but I eat a lot of non-meat meals. I like meat.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I don't, but I also like
Well, the thing is with chili, you can't really tell half the time if it has the meat in it or not. And I don't use a whole lot of meat in it, just enough for flavor.
You could use ground turkey, ground chicken if you didn't want to use the beef.
Yeah.
I'm going to have one more spoonful before we go.
Okay.
Forkful, sorry. It's just nippy enough. I think over the years I'm learning to eat a little more. At one time I couldn't eat anything. Now I eat a little more because I don't want to say to people when they cook for me, oh, I can't eat this at all because you have peppers in it. But so here we have the wonderful,
Chili?
we're going to call it Mary Catherine's chili.
Or the I hate to cook chili.
Is that what it is? Well,
Basically.
Do you really hate to cook or you just don't know how, or you just don't cook?
I don't like to take the time in the kitchen to do all
You
the
have other
prep
things to
work.
do.
I have other things to do.
I mean,
and
Mary
I
Catherine
always
runs
have.
around to Pittsburgh for classes and comes back here, and so she's very busy. So this is really very, very good. This is a wonderful, nice light drink. Remember,
And it lasts for about a week in the refrigerator. You can freeze it and take it out at later times,
what?
and it
This is
thaws,
good.
and it even tastes better after it's been soaking together.
oh, you're
for a
talking about
while.
this.
The chili, yes.
I was going to suggest this. If you freeze these in ice cube trays, like little ice cubes, and put them in your punch, and you can do this with iced tea, when you make iced tea, and you freeze it and put it in the punch, and then when it dissolves out, you have more punch, you don't have water.
Well, I did that with baby food because there was a period of time where you had to grind things up, you know, otherwise you weren't a good mother if you used jars of food. And I made one tray of squash and one tray of peaches, and I thought I popped out a cube of peaches and it was squash and it didn't go down at all. It
So-
wasn't going anywhere.
Well, listen, I want to thank you very much.
You're welcome,
for
Betty.
coming from your very busy schedule. I know it's a very busy time for you, but I sort of coerced her into it over a long period of time.
Over a long period
I
of
don't cook.
time.
You don't want me on that show. And then I kept listening, and I heard she sort of cooked, and
Yeah, this
she
is
made
sort
them.
of cooking,
She
I
knows
must
how to
say.
shop at the supermarket really well, so she has
Yeah.
it made. So once again, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And this is Betty Banjack and Mary Catherine McGarvey. And look who's cooking. See you soon. Bye.
Bye-bye.